So we join back in for part 2 of our adventure. After last part, the group had done a bit of partying, and decided that they are going to go on a little quest to help Dante with a ritual to help his fire purely cure instead of cure and burn. Eleni set off to prepare. Volu and Dante set off to copy the pages required to get their items to obscure and hide them. And Ichi, we join now. Firstly, well, what were you doing first? Like, what was the first agenda? Was it
So
training
as everyone
first,
kind of
or...
like left, Ichi kind of like turned to Woofus and was like, right, let's see how far Dante got with you. Sit.
Give me an animal handler.
With my +3, that is a 5.
Yeah, he just turns your tongue out.
He seemed to respond well when Volu had sausages. One moment, and Ichi goes to the kitchen, gets like a load of sausages.
So yeah, and generally training is just time ticked off, right? So basically, if you imagine, it's hard with, I sort of do it more like the older rules, which is almost like you can try and command an animal to do anything at any moment with animal handling.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it to be a set thing that they just know, it is then
takes training, time.
The time, right? Let me see if there is a.
I feel like that was Volu, or at least Paul, to Matt being, remember, for every 2 I get, he gets 1.
Correct.
Like you're training me there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fuck up the system.
If I come back and you've messed up his sausage habits.
I come back and you're like talking with the dog, and dog's there like, Ichi gave me 12 before he even had 1.
So what do you want to set to first? Essentially, I say that you can sort of do one sort of command, but if the command is sort of in multiple, so for example, the obvious example that people usually start with, like everybody does with usual dogs, is stay, sit, stay.
Yeah, it is going to be training that. Like, I think Ichi's primary is at the moment going to be stay. If at any point, like, if we're in the middle of a fight or something and something gets its attention, it starts to bolt, Ichi wants the security of knowing if anyone shouts stop or heal, they will stop what they are doing.
Okay, so let's start with an animal handling just to see, and with advantage because you've now got your treats.
Lovely. Okay, that first roll would say, okay, yeah, we'll go that first one. That first one was a 15 plus 3, so 18.
Okay. And how long do you want to work at it?
Ichi will spend like a good, I feel like 2 hours is a good kind of like, without them necessarily getting too bored and tired of like things not going perfectly, you know, like, yeah, a good 2 hours to start off with. And then Ichi will wander off to go and find the guards and such, to go and talk to higher ups within the chapel and talk to some guards about stuff that we need to get done with the undergrounds.
Okay, so note that the 2 hours towards stay.
Stay, yep.
Or sit, or whichever one you want.
I'll say 2 hours towards stay.
And then what I'll also say is, you just give me are you gonna use, so as you're leaving to go and do your thing, you try and stay, are you gonna use a treat to do it, or are you gonna see if
No, we're in early steps. Ichi will use a treat to.
Okay, so give an animal handling with advantage to get them to stay while you go and.
Okay, first roll was a 12, second roll was a 4, so we take the 12, so 15.
Okay, so they do. take the treat and stand. They will sort of after a moment sort of sit when they don't get the command to like stop. Or they will. You sort of as you're shutting the door, you see they're still just sat there wagging their tail.
Yep. Like closes the door, waits for like 10 seconds, opens the drawer a little bit, throws them another sausage, closes it.
Okay.
Volu's gonna be so mad at me.
So
I like
spoiled.
that. Volu's like halfway through writing a word, and it's like something is very wrong.
This is Volu's villain arc. Comes
My
back
sausage sense
wielding
is
the
tingling.
big, like just picks up like the sword that's containing
I'll let
Tenebrae
Tenebrae out.
and is there like, you gave
But
sausages.
you're just like, you give me all the fucking sausages, I'll let you out this sword. You got me.
It's gonna be Volu sat down with Woofus to the left, going, right, remember, 2 for me, 1 for you. Looks over at Ichi. 5 for me, 1 for you.
But yeah, so
5 for me, none for you.
Yeah, fair.
You are able to head out, Ichi, and you can as you get out, you first of all are that it's quite busy, and you can see that there are a number of people being brought in, on stretchers, walking, but far more than you've seen in previous days. As they sort of see you arriving, High Priest Arcanel will sort of approach and say, Ichi, I don't know if Dante is around. We had a bit of a breakthrough. We managed to convince the higher ups to allow us to sort of step in with force down in the down my brain went. Catacombs, thank you. Down in the catacombs, those that were not opening doors, we explained that one of the symptoms that we are witnessing is paranoia. It's allowed us at least a grant of access to be able to open doors, make sure, and we found, as we were fearing, there are quite a few people in the early stages of infection who are experiencing high levels of paranoia. And even as you're talking, there's some people that they're not being forcibly dragged, but almost as like two guards around them, sort of ushering them in the right direction and making sure they don't bolt.
I'm glad to hear that things are progressing in a more positive way then, in terms of at least trying to find those who are infected. We recently found out that those who have, well, it's a possibility definitely for you to, I want you to more confirm rather than take my word for it. But once an individual has been cured of the infection, we believe that they can't be infected again. So whether or not that is something that can at least put yourselves at your minds at rest when it comes to releasing rehabilitated and cured individuals. Obviously, maybe have a little bit of a monitoring period first, and then hopefully we can slowly get through everything.
Well, I mean, Brother Theo has been much of a testing. They have been back to work, healing, and we will keep an eye on them for sure. Though that will help. We are going to run out of space.
Yes.
Right now, we are moving those that are only lightly infected. Although I am wondering at the moment, we need to set up another protected room. However, those in the later stages do not seem to spew or produce the quasits or any other such. That those seem to be early stage effects. So we might change how we are going to position things. But
of course, in regards to Dante, obviously we are still very much in wanting to help as much as we can. Just for an aspect of peace of mind for us, if you could prioritize someone who you think needs immediate care towards Dante's fire, if we could set them up in a new warded area, a new magic circle, in which we can activate once Dante is present, because we've obviously recently gone through some changes with Dante, and we want to make sure that I feel like here would be probably the best place for us to trial Dante using those abilities again, and perhaps even once I've discussed with the rest of everyone else the possibility of giving him his sword, just to see what happens in a controlled environment, if that's at all possible.
I mean, we could potentially test it, of course. I think
it would also help, hopefully, cleanse someone else of this infection.
We have already. Dante has already.
you have been, Dante has.
Oh,
been.
you have been. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought you hadn't been
basically,
using your
no.
full fire abilities.
Well, Dante
He's been healing them, but he's
has-
been also been burning the hell out of them.
Yeah, and he's been
That-
only,
yeah.
he's only been healing the least infected to try and allow some people to be out of the space.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Could we find someone who is further along and heightened so that we can test the extremities of Dante's abilities? Is kind of what I.
Yeah.
Especially like if.
Pre or post?
Pardon?
Do you mean pre or post dunk in the water?
Pre.
Pre. Yeah, like so when you all come back, we can try this tonight and then head off tomorrow. And I feel like it's just a good idea for us to have information on all bases.
High Priest Arkin, I would say we can definitely try and test it. I mean, my main concern at the minute is the damage being done. If that was done all over somebody rather than just to their leg or to their chest, they might not survive. Versus whether it's possible, I definitely think it could be tested, but I do worry for those that are further along. We are still not sure what happens in the later stages. None of those that are in later stages have died. They just seem animalistic.
Yeah, the conversations we've had about the matter, it does feel as though it's not necessarily death that is the end result. It is more chaos, if that makes sense.
They almost are regressing.
Yes, everything's becoming primordial. When this affected like the fire plane, it was healed by the fire, but at the same time everything became more volatile and volcanic almost. Like the fire got to a point where it would build and explode, obviously as a result probably killing the host, but I think that was more to do with the primordial nature of the fire.
Yeah, I'm worried. As they're sort of talking, somebody will sort of call them over. They will say, I must continue to attend.
Oh, of course. Before you do fully disappear, do you know who is best to talk about the investigation that's been going on in the ruins? Is it yourself or one of the head guards?
It would be. And oh my god, this name is like way from the past. Sir Volkov.
Sir Volkov.
Sir Volkov. Oh wow, yeah, that is a.
We like him.
Sir Volkov. He is. I mean, I don't know if he is directly manned down there, but he oversees a lot of the.
He should at least have a lot of port of call.
Yes, he's usually who I message if I need an update about something.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much. I will not take up any more of your time. Right. Ichi will kind of like, Sir Volkov, are they're not present in the temple itself. They're kind of more down in like the barracks, wasn't it? Like the head office kind of vibe.
So they're not actually stationed up in. They're not like up in the bastion, but you do know that they're like at the main guardhouse for the chantry. So like
Okay.
that station nearest the temple.
Yeah,
but
each will start making their way there.
Taking sword with.
Why did that?
Or
Yeah.
has Eleni got sword?
I think Eleni takes the sword
I've
with
got the
them
sword.
just because they have the carrying capacity, just in case. So yeah, sword is with Eleni.
Okay. So Ichi, you are able to set off towards the guardhouse. And as you're making your way off that way, I will take a pause and flick over towards Eleni again. So Eleni, you sort of moving on towards the street. Do you want to go head towards Dana's shop or the thing first? Or the Rusty Bucket first?
I would probably pop in to see Dana first, I think.
Okay, so as you head on in, there is a human lady and a young girl in there, and Dana does see you, and like you would see there's like almost a break of professionals, like yes, madam, that will just be one goal, thank you, and they finish and quick, how are you doing?
I would, if she'd allow me, I would give her a hug.
Yeah, she definitely will.
And I would just say, we've been so busy. I'm sorry I haven't been to see you before now. Are you okay?
Yes. Actually, I was going to try and get a message to you to thank you. Lots of people seem to notice that we were talking and think that you might be staying here after you left there. I've managed to get a few sales from it.
I'm really glad about that. You deserve it.
Thank you. How are all of you? Are you all well?
We're fine. Yeah, we're just relaxing after winning the race and doing a little bit of reading in the library. That was part of our reward, and just trying to work out where we want to go next.
Oh. Any ideas on that?
Not sure really yet. I don't know. It's we met on the road here, so I don't know if we ever planned really to stay together as a group, but after the race, we've become really good friends. So
Understandable.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, we may be journeying. I'm right in thinking that Dana did do like potions and things, didn't she?
But she's less
It's not.
full-blown potions and more advancing, healing, preventing. It's creams and salves. There is some stuff in terms of like burns and it's almost like temporary resistance and stuff like that, and like
Okay.
those sorts of things that are less effective but also not as expensive.
Okay. I think I would probably have a wander around and look at what she's got just to see if there's anything interesting in here. I'm not telling her the whole truth. I'm keeping everything very light and positive. Um, and just making
Okay.
sure really that she's not had any further problems since those guys tried to grab me in Volo and and that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. And they definitely, there's no sort of bringing that up. You maybe talk for maybe 10 minutes before the door opens, and a half orc and a dwarf sort of enter and start looking around at the shelves and stuff. And they so, excuse me,
Yeah,
if you are around at any point, just drop me a message. We can maybe meet up in the Rusty Bucket for a drink.
I would love that. Thank you. Yeah, I am just going to browse the shelves very briefly. Is there anything that, I mean, you're saying like temporary salves for burns and things or temporary resistances. Is there anything like that that I think might help?
So
Some
the
of
only
our
stuff that there's antitoxins, for example, so it gives you advantage versus poisons for an hour after drinking them. Or I think it might even 1 second to check actually. Yeah, so it gives you an advantage on saving throws versus poison for an hour. There's a few things like that. There's nothing. Looking
Nothing that I
over,
think would help us on our journey either to like Sif.
no, nothing that's that sort of thing.
Okay. I think if there's nothing like that, I would just sort of wave goodbye very sort of briefly as I'm heading across, and then I would pop in to see Alara. And again,
Okay.
I'm going to tell her exactly the same story that I've just told Dana. Not going into detail, not even really saying where we're staying. But I would make sure, because I now can't remember if we ever like paid her up to date with where. Do you know what I mean? Because we were staying there and then we just
Yeah,
stopped staying there.
I think you to be honest, I think you probably paid past
Right.
the when you're in there, you are Alara does sort of say at one point, obviously I know it probably comes with the territory, with with winning the race and all that, but a few days ago there were some people asking around the group. Weird lot.
Have they been here before? Did you recognise them?
No, I didn't recognise them. There were 3 of them, humans. They were like putting on accents. I don't know where they were from. They were trying to sound like they were maybe from the south, but didn't sound right. Gave me a weird vibe.
And they were just asking where we were, or
Where you were, if they could get a message to you, if they could meet with you. We just say like we always do. We don't know you. You haven't stayed there since the race. You could be anywhere now by now. Those sorts of things, But
I mean, we are going to be moving on in a little bit, but we'll be around on and off for at least another couple of weeks. Maybe if they come back, you could ask them to leave a message and some way of us getting in touch with them. But yeah, I'll ask her to give me a physical description, Liam. Do any of them sound like the men that were watching me before?
no, the only bit. So it's like fairly plain humans, fairly clean, nicely dressed. The only bit that's maybe and she just sort of said that it was like they were dressed too well. Like they still tried to dress the part.
Like they had the best clothes on, kind of thing.
Well, not like the best clothes. If you imagine somebody was trying to look like they were a simple market person, a stall owner, and so they go out and they buy all the stuff, but like they had all the buttons, and there's none of the crinkles in it where you would have to turn it up to do the job right.
Yeah.
Like we notice these things when you see older people all the time.
It's interesting.
Again, I mean,
thank you so much for. Not giving anything away.
Might be me just being old and sticking my nose in, but
I trust your judgment. I think you would know the difference. Thank you. I mean, we're moving around a fair bit at the moment. We're staying with various different people, and we might be heading out of the city for a few days and then coming back for a bit, but we don't have any firm plans yet. I will definitely call in and see you again. Alara, if you or Dana needed to get hold of us urgently, you could get a message to us via the Temple of Astera.
okay.
And if you need us to come and help with anything, please let us know. But yeah, I just wanted to come and say hello and say how grateful we were for your support and
It'd
make
be
sure
lovely
that you
to
were
see.
okay.
We are wonderful. And yeah, you would be able to sort of finish the conversation. Again, it's sort of midday, so they're serving people and they're doing stuff, but they're happy for you to stay and talk as long as you want.
I would
How long
possibly
would you?
buy a cheap drink and a snack or something, Liam, and have lunch there while I was there and just sort of
Yeah.
take in the ambience. Again, I'm going to say I am being very watchful. Now that she's told me that as well, I am scanning the crowd. I'm keeping my eyes open.
Yeah, and everyone you're sort of looking at, they do look like it looks like a lot of again the miners on the lunch breaks, or it does look like locals and
The
other
usual
those sorts.
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't see anybody that sort of stands out to you, but yeah, noted that you're keeping an eye.
Okay. And then yeah, once I'd had lunch, I'd say goodbye and head back to the temple.
Okay. As you're making your way back, give me a perception.
24.
Mm. So you're walking down. So you walk off the street that the Rusty Bucket's on. You get on the
Yeah.
main road and you start making your way up. And then just generally, I don't like I don't imagine you speeding or anything. You just sort of
No,
taking
not
your
in a
time up.
rush.
And there is somebody hooded, maybe 40 feet down behind you on this main road. But every time you've stopped, they've stopped. And you stop for whatever reason, like you pause to let somebody cross in front of you. There's an old lady with a cart, and they just, and you sort of motion for them to go past,
Yeah.
and they just sort of stop and look in a window. And it's only on the third or fourth time that just tickle in the back of your mind, and your moth get a little bit agitated.
Can I find either like a stall that I can walk behind and go out of sight and then maybe come out the other side, or I don't know, an alleyway I can duck into, and then I want to be able to use my armor's cast of invisibility. But I want to sort of go invisible and then stand very, very still and then almost follow the hooded person. Do you know what I mean? Sort of wait for them and follow them.
Okay, so give me a stealth as you and it will be with advantage because of your invisibility, as you sort of shift behind, turn invisible, and then move to stationary.
So that's a 13.
Okay. So you stop and you're watching, and again, they're about 40 foot behind, and they were sort of stopped, like they were almost, trying to be stopped as if they were about like looking up and down, getting ready to cross over or whatever.
Yeah.
And you sort of can see them as they sort of get to the other side of the road, and they look for a moment, a little confused, and you can see them sort of glancing round. And they look down at something in their hand. You can't see what, if you imagine the hand sort of cupped. And then they look, and again, not like at you. It's not like found you sort of look, but they definitely look in the area you are standing in, and they're looking,
shit.
and they look down, and they're looking.
I want to test this by moving very slightly, maybe only a two or three steps, just very slightly.
So with very slightly, there doesn't seem to be any discernible difference. They still look just as confused, if that makes sense, and they're now moving a bit slower.
Okay.
And give me an insight.
15.
Okay. They're sort of glancing around. They're moving slowly up, and they are definitely coming towards that. So there's like that little stall that you're stood by. They're almost like you can see that they're. If you imagine they're sort of, you can see them thinking. So they're definitely still looking at something cupped in the hand, and they're looking at the stall that you're like stood right behind.
Okay.
And you can see them sort of starting to cross and trying to, without approaching the stall, they're trying to look like behind the stall, like lip of the thing, and checking out the vendor a little bit. And
is there somebody at the stall that when they move away, I could go with that person? And what's in my head is that if they think they're tracking something on me, could I make them think I'd deposited that something on a different person and sent it? You know what I mean?
you could try. So what I'm going to say is, it's still, this is a new stealth roll.
Okay.
And rather than, it's basically how good you are is how good you're mimicking the movement of the person you're trying to shadow, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too close to that person, but I want to be. Now I know
And
I can
it's
go a couple of steps.
Still advantage because of the invis.
Okay, let's try this again. Oh Jesus, okay. Oh fuck, that's even worse. So the first roll was a nat 1, and the second one was a total of 8.
Okay.
Wow.
So you move, and again, the person almost immediately, like, they're looking down, and they shift the gaze with the person.
Yeah.
But the person you're shadowing, like, almost stumbles for a second.
Yeah.
And you sort of don't match pace.
Yeah.
And you would see them, like, definitely see it shift past. Before they close their hand, turn on the spot, and start walking very quickly the other direction. Down the street. Hands go in pocket, hood comes fully up, and they start shifting through the crowd.
Okay, hang on.
And I think while I leave you a moment to think, I'm
let me
going
think.
to flick over to the boys, who are still beginning to delve deeper. Got what you wanted for your quest in your pocket. What are you wanting to search for yourselves while you are in with access?
We said just stuff about harnessing our power, like the elemental power, seeing if we can spread it about with, like, I don't know, elemental in a bottle almost.
Okay, so definitely looking at like magical item enchantments and those sorts of things. I think just using the fact of, like, there's less books that are restricted, almost starting with restricted ones and then seeing if there's anything here that might help or whatever. Obviously, there are a few things around that, again, are very much clearly labeled as illegal and only for theoretical things, is like the soul binding and other things. Theoretically, a creature's powers are usable through the item they are bound in. You witness this sort of thing with, like, the scales that had the Sphinx in it, so the scales could tell whether you were lying. That sort of thing is possible. If you would potentially, there is definitely some scope. If you imagine that, like, okay, if you want to enchant your sword, the flame sword tongs enchantment, you need a bit from a creature, usually the tongue or the bit that creates the fire, but something from a creature or a plane that creates that fire. Subsequently, you could substitute that for the energy of a person or a thing, but it is riskier. So rather than having the heart of a dragon powering the fire source, you have Dante stood in the middle, powering the fire source. The issue is if something goes wrong in the enchantment when you're using a heart, the heart is burned, that's done, you've got to get a new one. If something goes wrong while you're using a live power source, things get riskier. Hence why this sort of thing is restricted, because the other ways you can do it is the double step of like enchanting a gem with your magic, with your essence, and then using that gem to enchant a sword, but that's more costly, more legal, more costly, but takes more time, less risky. The issue with that one is the gem that you enchant needs to be able to be of value that can hold up to 2 enchantments, because you have to enchant it the first time with your energy and then enchant it the second time into the whatever it is you're doing.
Okay. Polly's just gonna drop one of the books accidentally on Dante's foot.
Oh.
My apologies. Yeah, thought I heard something.
But yes, anything
right,
else?
okay, okay.
It probably took you about. You've probably been in the
theoretically,
library about
like,
an hour at this point.
Okay. So theoretically, if we got a dragon's tongue or one of those pig guys, why am I calling him a pig guy? It wasn't a pig guy, was it? A dwarf.
What? What?
You thinking like
How did that confuse?
Or something?
For some reason, I had the Pokemon Boy in my head.
Okay.
Fair enough.
The fire elemental dwarves, those guys.
Yeah. So they conjure it out of their hands, don't they?
And their face and everywhere out there, they were just on fire.
So we could lob some bits off of them if they come for us. So if we find they come for us again, we can make sure to lob some body parts off and harness them.
Yeah, sure. Why not, Butcher? Hopefully they don't come for us again, because they're quite tough.
They're pretty tough, but we can hold our own.
Against about 6, yes.
6 at a time, then.
As long as they only come 6 at a time, we'll be okay.
Is there anything else that we can do that's...
Body parts, animal parts,
gems? So there's nothing else we can find about the sharing of energy, for example. So someone can't share my energy.
Nothing that you find in this initial search. There might be stuff that isn't, because obviously in this you're sort of looking at titles of things in this first search. To go further, you would actually have to spend extensive downtime poring through every nook and cranny. But in the initial search, there's nothing on sharing energy. There is stuff around, obviously, powerful beings sharing energy, but nothing about mortal to mortal.
Is there anything about blacksmiths infusing elemental stuff into weaponry?
Yeah, that is sort of what you were reading about with you either need to have Dante enchant a gem and then have like a very good blacksmith or some other person make that into a sword or whatever other item you want to make it into, because it can be any item you fancy, or basically have an enchanter be doing it while Dante is pouring the energy into it.
Just because we haven't said it, I feel like it doesn't need to get said, but just so it's very clear, we put those other books back exactly where they were meant to be put.
I did say I put the book back when I finished with it.
Oh, okay, I missed that, but I'm just...
You were too busy singing about coconuts.
Dante will just kind of lead. Just Foley, do you have the page of the other one? The other document?
Yeah, I've got it here, but like maybe we should not give you that until we're out of here and around other people.
I'm just curious. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to check. You remember the person, don't you? Like you met him with me. Who's asked for this? Who we're doing the job for?
The first time, you didn't go into the meeting, but you
didn't go to the meeting.
You met him in the courtyard.
Yeah.
I thought they were different people.
No, same person.
All right. Okay. Then yeah.
Maybe you should, after we leave here, contact them.
Okay.
Just to say that we've sorted it. Make sure that he's got our stuff.
Yeah.
Dante will look around and be like, well, and just kind of being like, I feel like we've spent enough time in the library for the time being. Unless there's anything else, shall we head out?
I'll glance over to the section that I was looking at before. About the trees and their geographical locations. I'll have a moment of pause, kind of frozen in indecision, and then when I hear Dante ask it again, I'll be like, I think we're all done here.
Everything all right?
Yeah, just trying to find the new way to go.
Yeah, if there is anything here that you want to look up, now is probably the best time, because we don't know if this will be restricted later.
No. That's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Gonna just point out, Dante didn't see where he looked. Didn't have any insight onto the fact that there's something wrong.
But yeah, you would be able to head out. Again, the attendant does take note of you passing, but doesn't say anything, just sort of waves and says goodbye almost, but just they note the movement. And you are able to head out into the mythic, back out into the mythic ward. Again, still not that it's coming up to maybe 11, half 11. There is a bit more movement now. People sort of finishing the morning lectures and things. Lou, you wanted to do a sending straight away, or you guys wanted to get a little bit away from things and move away? But
we'll wait till we get a little bit away, and then I'm gonna
probably when heading back to everybody else and do it closer towards them.
Okay, no worries. Let me know what you are planning to send to them. Anything else you want to do before you head back, or are you just heading straight back to the temple from here?
I think we'll head straight back to the temple.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'll come back to you guys in a moment. You guys will be just let me know what you are saying and sending. And
sending might be till we're back with everyone.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying when you were nearer, but you might as well type it out while we're.
Yeah, I'm typing it out while you're getting there because I'm going to send it anyway.
As I jump to Ichi, as you get a bit closer to the Chantry Guard station, it is emptier than you were expecting, but just about as busy. As you can hear the shouting back and forth of different areas that need resupply and moving assistance. Almost as you're entering, you can hear a booming voice that we need to move more of our men from the north of the Chantry down into the North Iron Mine of the Forge Ward. Sorry. And you can hear, as you enter, you sort of see over on one side the presence of Savolkov, a few of his attendants left and right. And you can see that there, as he gives orders, they're sort of running over with a little message and tying it to a falcon and sending it off. It's almost that sort of delivery system. for the most part. In urgent situations, they probably do call on magic, but they don't necessarily take notice of you. Sorry, as you enter.
Hello, excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. Is it urgent? We are dealing with something quite pressing.
Mildly urgent in terms of looking for an update towards the situation that's been going on in the ruins. My name's Ichi. I was part of the group that first discovered all the issues down there, helping dealing with the golem and such.
I remember you from something else. Wow.
We also, when coming into the city, helped with a wyvern issue.
Well, I don't have that report directly to hand, Jill.
Oh no, of course. It's if anything, feel free to continue what you're doing. I can leave. I just need a pen and paper, and I can write some things that we want you to keep in mind.
Not a minute. Not a minute. Private, fetch the black folder from my desk, and they sort of run off. Again, they do say take a seat for a minute. Again, they're definitely like none of what they're talking about right now is like top secret, if that makes sense. But they are not talking openly out of code, if that makes sense. So they're still like when it comes to formation or whatever, those sorts of things, they're still talking coded. But again, Ichi, it very much sounds like they're putting a bit of a wall between the Forge Ward and the Chantry.
Okay.
Not by like in physical bodies as such.
Yeah, more like random bollards and barricades rather than physical building a stone wall.
He sounds paranoid.
From scattered like listening into keywords, does it feel like this is due to the infection or for other reasons?
Definitely seems it's like a lot of it is more like checkpoints, like keeping an eye on people coming up and through. And again, it's not like mass scale lock it down, no one can come through. It's just we're gonna man those points and we're gonna man this point and have like a few guys on that staircase. And again, there's a preparation over. It's less you get. This isn't like, oh my god, they're attacking us right now. This is definitely he is of the mind, and you get from a general insight of him that he's definitely taking it seriously, right? Like whatever it was that High Priest Arcanera said to him, or maybe he's been in the temple and seen it as one of the guard captains closest to the temple. But he is not taking it lightly.
Okay.
After maybe about 5 minutes,
will just kind of stay quiet and observe until they come over.
After about 5 minutes, the attendant would sort of bring the folder over to him, and he would continue. I will return. Ichi, why don't you follow me over here? And they move sort of through into another room. Again, not door shut, but it's just a sort of for quiet. And they open the folder. They it seems that our men went in. They took caution as you requested. Apparently the golem is still ripping pink stuff out of the floor and walls, or was last we reported. Maybe it says that Sir Arthur and his squire exited maybe an hour or so after yourselves.
Oh dear.
They said that the further into the temple was all clear. We had a minor search, but we have not seen any signs of infection past that point. It has been cordoned off, but it has been the decision of the city, especially with other things going on, that we will watch the golem and make sure that it is not failing in its duty, but it is currently clearing more efficiently than we could.
Okay.
We have some wizards and mages from the academy station down there, as well as a few priests. They said that they will keep signs for infection and corruption, but other than that, we are probably going to seal the place up once the golem is finished cleaning.
Wonderful. With that in mind, do myself and my companions still have clearance to enter the ruins? There are some other things that we would like to check in on. Thank you for letting me know about the golem and how everything is going. It's good to know that so far everything seems to be working in its desired manner.
I mean, it is fortunate. I do not know what we are. I'm not sure how we fight this thing. For
That's what
now,
we're trying to figure out.
Well, for now, we are looking into methods of protecting our guards. We have already lost 3 or 4 to not down in the temple, just generally in the city to this
Of course.
illness. Let me know if there is anything that I can do to. He sort of like looks around a little bit and then hushes, like cut past some of the red tape. Things have got, well, things always do around elections and victories. Things slow down in government. If you, with High Priest Arcanai's blessing, I do not mind giving assistance where I can.
Thank you very much.
And I'd say with your insight, you definitely get there is a personal connection between that between High Priest Arcanai and him, and not necessarily one of like. There might be a bit of love there, but not necessarily straight up romance or infatuation. There's definitely like almost you get the impression of like partners. They might have worked this strip of the city for the last 40 years together. That sort of vibe.
Okay.
So it's not that they trust you, it's that High Priest Arcanai has told them that they trust you.
Yeah, we've got someone vouching for us, and that's okay. Someone of importance vouching for us, or at least in this individual's mind. Lovely. Well, thank you very much. I'm certain that might come in handy for us. I think myself and my companions are planning on heading back into the ruin at some point soon, just to check on a few doors that we opened and may not have fully closed, just to make sure that everything is fine and safe.
If you are planning to do so, I suggest you do so soon. I mean, the timescale, like I said, everything slows down, but we are being pressed to close up the main tunnel that leads to that temple is open to any of the creatures that roam the underground. We try our best not to interfere with their pathways, and at the moment they are lined with guards who are, even the ones that are prey are being scared away from that area, which in turn drags others.
As obviously guards of this city, do you have any blueprints or understanding of the original foundation of the city, and perhaps were you aware that this underground temple was there?
No, all records, and I mean, unless they're keeping it hidden from even us, I mean, do you know how the city was formed?
I remember being taught it lightly a while ago, but not 100%.
The original city was put together as just a map for the mines. When the discovery on what Zikar could be done, the 4 or 5 tribes from the desert's outer edges were contacted, given free homes and jobs, and allowed to asked to populate the town. It was just that for a very long time. Only when the War of Book and Cloth began did it start to become a fortification, and did the magical building begin. There are no records, even from the times of the earliest mines being dug, of anything like that being found. Of course, we found tunnels and things of creatures living down there, but as I said, I mean, back then they were a bit less environmental, shall we say, but now there are laws. If the mines come upon an area that seems to be lived in, we are to leave it until the creature moves on or doesn't. If it poses a threat, then we maybe deal with it, but...
Okay. And was there any kind, or has there been since the discovery of this temple, any conversations about re-looking at those maps of the mines to see if there are any dead ends that don't make sense? Perhaps original mappings that have been made to look like they are merely dead ends when actually they could continue further.
I'll be honest, the attention of, officially our attention is on the catacombs.
Of
The
course.
discovery of the mass outbreak down there, we are having to find out what's caused it. Is it that someone was infected within the city and just took it there? We are unsure at this point, but we know that there are some of the rooms that do break through into parts of the underground. It will take us a while to sift through, but that is what the city is focusing on at hand.
Of course, perhaps looking into that is something more myself and my companions can do, as from winning the race, we do have access to knowledge and such, so perhaps we could look into that, just to lend a hand in a way that obviously you can't spare the manpower.
As I said, High Priest Arcanine talks very highly of you. Any assistance, we have posted out to any mercenaries that should they come across those that are that seem infected but erratic, that they are to be restrained, not taken down.
Yes.
Obviously, you know this, but I fear at the moment an outbreak on a mass scale could be not
it's
detrimental
for everyone. Of course.
As they're sort of talking, there is sort of a call through, as somebody says, there has been an update from the south, and I'm sorry.
No, of course, I will not take up any more of your time. As you are with me, Arcanair obviously sent me over here, so thank you very much for any help that you can do, and anything that myself and my companions can do towards aiding yourself and Arcanair, please let us know. I cannot guarantee that we will be able to act immediately, but if we are able to, I'm sure we could attempt at lending a hand in some way, shape, or form.
As you're sort of talking and they're sort of walking back towards, they write a very small note, sign it, tear it off, and sort of hand it to you. Show that to, obviously it is limited, and as you sort of look at it, it says that the Chaotic Embers, because again he doesn't have any other name for you except that name that he knows.
I did give Ichi my name as Ichi
but
when I came in.
He's trying to give all
the
of
collective
you the permission.
Yeah.
And basically it just says that you are you have permission to assist in the investigation of the mines and the underground temple. Obviously, it will only allow you. The guards will stop you, and you will be arrested if you are found meddling in things that do not involve this. I want to be very clear.
Oh no, of course.
But this should allow you to get past anybody who is on watch or made an area that is for not the public.
Thank you very much. Hopefully this business gets wrapped up quickly so that we can all have a breath of fresh air.
I hope so. And then again, there's another call, and he's yes, I'm on my way. And then they sort of give you a swift bow and move over towards the table. As that finishes and sort of you're sort of leaving, I will flick back over to Eleni, who that hooded figure is starting to disappear into the crowd.
So, whereabouts am I, and what direction is the figure going in?
So, if you imagine on the, so we don't need map, but I can put us on where does Catfessy go? That one's the Catfessy map. So you had, so obviously Rusty Bucket's like down here.
Yeah.
You'd come up this way. You'd come up down here. You'd got onto the main road,
Yeah.
and you were heading up this way.
Yeah.
So you're stopped at like a cart, like a
Okay.
shop, a little
Yeah.
stall here. They got to maybe 20 feet of you before they are now
So they're heading back
bolting
south.
back southwards.
Okay, I want to follow them, but I want to try and leave a good 20 feet, maybe even 30 feet. And I know it's busy, but I want to try and leave some gap between me and them.
Give me an advantage stealth and then a perception.
Okay. Oh, that's better. So that's a 21 stealth and a 19 perception.
Oh, very good. So you move in and start following, and you sort of ducking in between the crowds. So you sort of giving that distance, and at first they're moving quite stealthily, and you're sort of thinking like, they're making quite tight turns. You're thinking, oh, might have to get closer than 20 feet, but then it's almost like there's almost the impression of they maybe aren't used to moving through a busy city, as actually you start being able to notice them by they like bump three guys as they're trying to move through that bit of the crowd, and they like knock something off a stall, and someone's like, hey, watch out where you're going, and you picking up signs of them as they're trying to stay stealthy through the crowd but not doing as good a job.
Are they still? You said they'd put this thing away.
Yeah, and they're still hands in, pockets in, head down.
Okay.
And just walking and moving. Your perception.
Yes.
19, did you say? Was that the 19?
19 was the perception.
There is almost, so they go 60 feet down. And there's no real, you don't notice any sort of motion or gesture. But all of a sudden, on the other side of the road, matching pace, is a second one. Similar dress, hooded. And just now, not as hood down, they're more just moving casually. But they definitely, they were sort of stood at a side post, and as he passed, if they weren't dressed so the same, you would be like, he's tailing him. That's how close that movement was.
Does he have anything in his hand?
No.
No.
Just sort of moving. And they take a turn, so they turn off the main street.
Yeah.
And they start walking down, and they get maybe another 30 foot down a bit of a, it's not like a side road, but it's, if you imagine sort of going from a dual carriageway road to a single lane road. There's definitely something, there's a motion between them. And even with the 19, barely anything. Almost like if you imagine two people crossing each other in the street and just giving each other a nod.
Yeah.
And one of them turns left and one of them turns right.
Is there any way I can get up onto the roof of the roofs of these buildings? I can't remember now if they're flat roofs or if they're.
It's a variety of flat and gabled and all sorts of stuff, but you can attempt to climb up.
Yeah, I would like to try, but only if it's because I don't see. I do have a potion that'd help me, but I don't really want to use it. So if there's an obvious, climbing up those boxes, or there's a ladder
Yeah.
or something really obvious that's going to get me onto the roof without me killing myself or falling or,
Yeah, so
attracting
you can give me an
attention.
athletics to see if you can find a nice, easy way up.
Oh, 17.
Okay. So you jump up, like you get almost go like back wall,
Yeah.
somebody like window ledge up onto the roof. As you get up, you would see the two of them, and they've obviously got a bit down the alleyway, the sort of alleyways that they're in.
Yeah.
And now that you're up here, slightly higher, give me another perception. You see that the one that turns south definitely looks like they're just looping around.
Okay.
They almost get to the end of the alleyway, take a left, disappear for a moment, but then they appear again at the corner and take another left. And
Okay.
they're almost just like looping back around on themselves.
That perception was a 15.
You would see they move down this alleyway, and you see that they sort of move all the way down to the end, and it is what if you imagine that it's alleyway open at either side, but in the center it's got like a large gate that sort of locks it down, so you wouldn't be able to walk from one end to the other without climbing the gate or getting through it some other way.
Okay. Yeah.
And the last sort of door, like on the back of the building before the gate, it's a really old, like beaten, busted door. You see that they sort of go to it. They take a look around, and I think worryingly for Eleni, the 15 catches that they sort of, as they get to the door, they turn and make like 3 hand gestures over the shoulder.
Okay.
But you can't see who the fuck they did that to.
Oh, shit.
And
okay.
for Eleni, it was upwards. If you imagine that it wasn't a signal that was like down the street sort of thing, they were this sort of thing over their head.
I can't see your hand, by the way, Liam.
Yeah, but no, it's more about the position of the hand that they were signaling to someone you think is high up. And as you sort of look and scan the roof, you can't see anybody up on these.
Okay.
You would see that they almost have to lift the door. If you imagine the door's almost sunk out of place, where they're hanging sort of off its hinges.
Like when sometimes you have to lift a door to turn the key kind of thing.
Yeah, he literally has to he has to lift the door. He does sort of put a key in and twist it.
Okay.
Before it, and as it opens, it sort of like drags out again because it is not set in its position properly.
Okay.
He like cracks it a little, steps in, and again you see he sort of reaches out and pulls it shut.
Where did the other guy go? Because you said they went in opposite directions.
He loops back, gets back onto the street. You would see he takes a look up and down and does another loop.
Is his loop going around the outside of the building that the other guy's gone into?
No, interestingly, it's, if you imagine, so zoomed very far in, I'll do a little pinky ping. So if you imagine it's sort of like down this alleyway here.
Yeah.
The gate is here, sort of blocking it off.
Okay.
And so this, if it's easy to paint it, let me see if I can. So like this is the back door, like there.
Yeah.
That little blue splotch. The other guy is looping like this way, down onto the main street, this way.
Oh, okay, quite a big loop, right?
And it is quite a bit, and crossing this little bit of a park, and for Eleni, you don't. It's a hard one in terms of, so if this was animal tracking, This is more like you would do this if you know something is going to pass through this area. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the way they're moving, it almost gives you the impression of when they met up, maybe the signal was check for following, because they keep wrapping back onto the street, the main street that would walk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like they keep trying to naturally appear on this street.
I think what I want to do is I want to head away.
And
I,
is it an hour or a minute? Sorry,
it's an hour. It's proper
Okay.
invisibility. Yeah, it's not my 6-second thing. That's why I used the armor. So yeah, I actually want to leave here. I want to again head either back to how I climbed up or get back down.
Mhm.
But then I want to come, Liam, onto this street here. Don't know if that's showing there.
Yeah.
Almost, I want to see what this building is, but not from where the back door is. I want to just see generally what this building is. Is it like a shop at the front or some kind of residential?
It looks like apartment blocks.
Okay. And then what I want to do is actually head away and back up this street here.
Yeah.
And head up that way, so that I'm not going anywhere near the guy that's looping.
Yeah, no worries. And as you sort of begin to make your way up, all of you, I'd say, so you'd all sort of start.
I'm moving quickly as well, Liam. Just so you know.
Yeah. So I'd say that all of you are almost returning to the temple at a similar time. And as you're sort of grouping together outside the temple, each with your own findings and discoveries, that's where we will end this week's session.
Whoa, a lot of recon.
Thank you very much. Lots of recon, lots of
info.
prep, lots of info, lots of food for thought. Thank you very much for playing, as always. Thank you very much for listening. If you're enjoying the adventure so far and want to know what's going to happen next, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you know when the videos are coming out. And as always, also, I've just had a thought. I'm going to say that a little cheeky announcement. If you've made it this far in the fucking video, well done to you. Live session coming soon.
Woo!
Yeah.
Let's have this croppable.
No, that's right.
Well, it is, but no, I think we should do it anyway.
Croppable.
But yeah, I think and I would say if you made it this far in the video, sneaky little sneak peek. There will be a live D&D session coming up. It might be a one shot. It might be Astera. Who knows? I don't even think we do yet. But let's see. And as always, roll well. Bye.
Brilliant.
Oh.